I'm Jake, I can't skate, and this is Pickin' at 6. Next up in our Pickin' at 6 series, from the Prince Albert Raiders in the WHL, from Lacombe, Alberta, Daxon Rudolph. Now, I know one of you in particular, in my comments recently, is tremendously passionate about this player, saying they might be the best player in the entire draft. And so let's take a deeper look at this guy, shall we? Daxon Rudolph is a 6'2", 203-pound right shot defenseman. As I said, he's from Lacombe, Alberta, and this year with PA, he had 28 goals and 50 assists in 68 games in the regular season. He lit up the Hitman a couple times, unfortunately I was there, and in the playoffs, he had 9 goals and 18 assists for 27 points in 19 games. He scores a ton. Kinda like Zane Perek. You'll notice, though, that the assist numbers, they're high, but they're not jump right off the page to the moon high like they were with Zane Perek in his last year in the O. I don't necessarily think the vision is as elite as somebody like Zane Perek, and I don't think the raw skating ability is quite the same. However, one thing I will give him is he's a different defenseman than Zane offensively. He doesn't necessarily get points because his shot is booming or his elusiveness is incredible. He gets a lot of points because he filters a lot of pucks to the net. And that is a great skill to have in the NHL. However, as a lot of you will remember, shot volume is not everything. For a couple years, the Flames were the kings of shot volume, but still couldn't score. So, unlike somebody like Zane, who does have that ability to beat a goalie one-on-one, is that pucks to the net gonna translate all the way through to the NHL. Most importantly, is Daxon Rudolph a 3-zone player? His stats and being a plus 32 on the Raiders would tend to suggest that, yes, he's a good defensive defenseman as well. But how much of that is the Raiders being excellent, and how much of that is Daxon Rudolph's defensive ability? I've watched a couple of scouts on YouTube say that they doubt Rudolph's defensive commitment and consistency. I only watched him play a couple of times against the Hitmen, but I can see where they're coming from. You do not want to take this player at 6 if you believe that he's essentially going to be the Alexander Dag of defensemen and cheat for offense, rack up a ton of points because he puts a ton of pucks to the net, but isn't contributing much else than that. If you believe he's going to be able to filter pucks through at the same level at the NHL, then that's a good power play quarterback quality. If you simultaneously believe that any defense or consistency issues can be ironed out in his development, then you're going to value this player quite highly. Obviously, the stats speak for themselves. The offensive numbers are there, unlike they are with somebody like Albert Smith. But with somebody like Albert Smith, a lot of the rest of his game can't be questioned. And there's a couple of questions when it comes to Daxon Rudolph from some people. I know he also has extremely passionate defenders. There are some people that think he's the best defenseman in this draft. I tend to think it's probably Chase Reed or Carson Carrolls, but there are some of you who truly believe this kid is the best defenseman in this draft. If the Flames believe that, I can see them taking Rudolph at 6. I'm just not sure I would take Rudolph at 6. But let me know your arguments for why you would take this player at 6, and why any concerns about his consistency or defensive commitment should be overlooked. And that rounds out the defensive prospects in Pickin at 6. We have a few more forwards to talk about, and then I'll get into who my favorites are once the list is done. I hope you guys are having a good long weekend. Do all the YouTube things. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And as always, go Flames!